I want you to picture this. You're conversing with some new people that you just met at the coffee shop. In fact, you had already paid for your drink. You got a caramel macchiato, by the way, and you're standing off to the side of the counter waiting for your order to be made. And you're just waiting for your order, and someone else is next to you, also waiting for their coffee that they paid for. And you two look at each other, you smile at them, you say a friendly hello, and before you know it, you're engaged in a friendly, lighthearted conversation with them. And you had never seen them before. You don't know who they are. They don't know anything about you, but they are captivated by what you say. They love your personality and they want to be friends with you. That's the picture you want to see, right? So, for those of you who are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Nicole Jean, and I'm your people skills coach, and I help you converse with ease and get more friends. And today, I want to talk to you about how to go from boring to interesting, fascinating, and captivating in conversations so that you can magically make friends as an adult. Now, I have a question for you. Are you a boring person? Do you feel like you have a boring life? Do you feel like you have nothing to talk about in conversations? In fact, I get clients telling me this all the time. They tell me, "Nicole, I don't have an interesting life. I'm a boring person. In fact, I have nothing to say when I go to school or go to work on Monday and my colleagues or my classmates ask me, 'How was your weekend?' And I didn't really do anything interesting over the weekend." And if that's you, then I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story. This is one of my favorite memories I have of my mom. And it happened when I was maybe about 8 years old. My mom and I were out in public. I can't remember. We were at a restaurant or a shopping mall or something. And we went to use the restroom. We went to the public restroom. And after we're done, we did our business. We washed our hands at the sink like you're supposed to. Hands was, soap, water. And then we turn around with soaking wet hands and we go to dry our hands. And there's a public paper towel dispenser on the wall. And it's the type where you have to push the lever down to lower the paper towel. And my mom looked at it and she said, "Oh, I hate these types of paper towel dispensers. I have to touch the dirty lever with my freshly washed and clean hands to get the paper towel." So now she's dirtying her hands again. And so she did that. She pressed the lever a few times, ripped off the paper towel, dried her hands. And then while holding the used paper towel, she again pressed the lever a couple times to let more paper towel hang down. And then she looked at me and she said, "I always leave a little bit of paper towel hanging for the next person so that they don't have to touch the dirty lever or the dirty button on the paper towel dispenser with their freshly cleaned hands." And when she said that to me, I realized, wow, my mom turned a bad experience into a positive opportunity. From a freaking just a public bathroom paper towel dispenser of all things. She taught me a very important life lesson that's still with me today that helps shape who I am today. That you have complete control over how you choose to react of your experiences. Now, what's the point of this story? I'm getting to that. So, I could have said my mom taught me many important things about life, and I am so grateful for that. And I could have said that. And if I did say that, my life would seem pretty ordinary. I'm sure there are millions of other people who would say the same thing about their moms. But instead, I really painted a picture for you. I brought the story, her personality, and my memory to life. My story created so much more impact. Now, how many people do you think have had this specific experience and that I had with my mom? Probably none. This story makes my life unique. No one else has this story. No one else has my story. And that brings me to this point. is that you are not a boring person and you do not have a boring life. You each have an amazing life story, impacted and influenced by your childhood, your upbringing, your personal experiences, and the knowledge you've gained from those experiences. Even if you have a sibling that you grew up your entire life with in the same household, you still have a unique perspective that your sibling does not have. And so, even if your life is a typical story or like many other people, like my example, it's unique to you. No one has told your story before, and no one can tell your story because it's your story. And you can't tell your story wrong either because you are the authority on your perspective of something. And so I want you to remember that you have an exclusive narrative. You have a unique perspective. So please stop being a bully to yourself. Would you ever tell your best friend that they're a boring person or that they have a boring life? No, of course not. Of course you wouldn't. You would never do that to your best friend. So I want you to be your best friend too and stop punishing yourself with this belief that you are a boring person because believe me, you are not. And too many people have phenomenal personalities, but nothing to show for it because they don't have the skill to articulate themselves well in conversations. And you are way too valuable to let that happen. And so now you may be thinking, I don't, Nicole, I don't do anything interesting. I go to school, I go to work, then I come home, which leads me to my next point is that people are not boring. You are not a boring person, but people say boring things. Let me say that again. People are not boring, but people say boring things. I mentioned earlier that each person has a unique perspective, a unique narrative, and amazing life story. But people can say boring things. And this is where having great people skills comes into play. It is your job to articulate yourself well in conversations. For example, if it's Monday morning and you walk into work, your colleagues ask, "How was your weekend?" You have a choice. You can reply, "It was fine, thanks," and not invest in a higher quality conversation. Or you could do option B and reply with, something like a little story. So you could say, "It was a fulfilling weekend. I did a load of laundry. So I got my errands done. The house is clean. And I spent about 10 minutes in like a wrestling match with a fitted bed sheet. And during this time, I realized adulting is a lot like folding a fitted bed sheet, confusing and overwhelming." Now you're telling the same story in both scenarios that your weekend was fine. Nothing amazing or adventurous happened. You didn't go on a trip, you don't go skydiving, nothing crazy. But which sounded more captivating? Which drew your interest? Which had more impact on you? Which gave you a better and more interesting version of your personality? Which brought your personality out to the public, out to the other person? And so you don't need to lead an amazing, adventurous life. If you stayed home and did laundry over the weekend, that's an experience or itself. And I'll tell you a little secret is that people relate to other people who lead similar and simple, boring, and I'm using air quotes. If you're listening to the podcast, I have my fingers up. I'm doing air quotes on that. Similar or simple, boring experiences. I mean, think about it. How great is it when you read celebrity gossip news or magazines and you see other celebrities shopping for groceries or doing the laundry or other ordinary things like us normal people? It's really fascinating to know that we're alike. And so if someone says that you're boring, it doesn't mean that you're a boring person because you are not. It means that you come off as boring. And that's feedback. That is priceless, getting that feedback, getting that constructive criticism. And if you're interested, and I talked more about this in my last, I think it's like the last 2 podcasts or live streams. It's called One piece of hard feedback that I received that you can 100% benefit from, and I highly recommend that. I'll post the link here and also down below in the show notes. But I highly recommend you check that video out if you receive this feedback that you're boring, you're dumb, you're rude, you come off as standoffish. Definitely check that out. Now, if you're asking me, okay, Nicole, I totally see your point. I need to learn how to articulate myself well in conversations to get out that my personality to really show who I am. But how do I do that? How do I tell my stories in a captivating way? And that leads me to my next tip, and that is to invest in quality conversations. It's not the quantity of conversations. Invest in quality conversations. If you have 5 small talk conversations with someone, talk about the weather, talk about the traffic or commute to work that day, what movie you watched recently, just very lighthearted things, you're not really exchanging anything meaningful in the conversation. You're not building value in the relationship. You're not really connecting with the other person. But if you have 1 or 2 high quality conversations, you talk about something more meaningful, an exchange that really builds that connection. It starts to grow that seed in that relationship with that person. A conversation is always an investment in a relationship. Every time. Conversations have impact on people. They have impact on relationships. Conversations build connections, they strengthen connections, and they deepen connections. And, just like my example at the start of this about my mom and the paper towel dispenser, I really painted a picture of that memory. I really built the value and the meaning in that story. I showed you my values. I showed you how I grew up. I showed you a small piece of what makes me me. I invested so you have such a deeper connection to me, your relationship to me. And so I want you to get super excited about taking ownership of the perception you give others, or else the truth is other people will fill in the blank. It's completely human nature. It's just natural. It's like celebrity news. Celebrity news or gossip, you watch the like the celebrity gossip on the news, or you read the celebrity gossip in the magazines. Oh, another celebrity couple broke up, but we don't get the full picture of what went down. And of course, everyone's entitled to their privacy. That is their right. But the downside is that people start to subconsciously fill in the blanks of what happened. Oh, she left him because he cheated. He did this. She did that. Right? I mean, let's be honest. You're guilty of that. I'm guilty of that, of filling in the blanks. It's human nature. It's the exact same thing you need to take ownership of the perception that you give others. When you're silent in conversations, people are subconsciously filling in the blank. They don't know what you're thinking, why you're quiet, if you're nervous, you're shy, you're anxious. So they may fill in the blanks and think you're rude, you're bored, you don't want to talk to them, you don't like them, you're stuck up. It's not other people's job to have ESP and simply just know your value. You have a beautiful, shining inner light inside of you. And I know it's there. But more importantly, I know it's there inside of you. And you have this beautiful gift, and the world needs you to show it to the world. Something that is invaluable and timeless is having great people skills, being able to communicate well with other humans, being able to connect with other humans. You will never stop needing this gift. And that is the best gift you can give yourself, because it's a gift that only serves you indefinitely over and over and over in your life, any part of your life. And it never goes out of style. And if you're watching this or you're listening to this podcast, then I know you're already a superstar for wanting to learn how to improve your people skills and become that 1% better. And so that's the culture here at Socially Awkward Bootcamp, which is my coaching service. Socially Awkward Bootcamp will give you an arsenal of things to say and how to say it in conversations. What that means for you is that you will be able to strike up conversations easily with other people, feeling at ease, like it's second nature. But the real value is that you can authentically connect with other people, show your true inner light with no misinterpretations of who you are and your personality, and find your social circle of friends that makes you feel like you belong. Because getting more friends and having a more meaningful life is what you want, right? It's what we all want. And so I invite you to learn more about Socially Awkward Bootcamp if this resonates with you, if this hits with you, if you're like, yes, I want this for my life. I am ready to change my life. I want the life that I've dreamt of, and you want to know how to truly captivate others in conversations and get more friends and live a more meaningful life, then I invite you to learn more about Social Awkward Bootcamp. The link is down below in the show notes or the description box. And I want to talk to you. And I would love to invite you to work with me and see how I can help you develop the skill and make more friends in your life. Whew. All right. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me end. Not yet. All right. Let me end the podcast recording. Oh my gosh. Whew. I can take a break now. I'm always nervous after recording that. Oh, all right. I always look after recording the podcast if anyone's live and asked any questions or had any comments about today's mini training live stream or podcast episode, but I don't see any questions. Oh, a lot of people came in. Hi, Sam. Hi, Brian. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate that. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through Instagram on the live. I don't see any questions there. And I don't see any questions on the YouTube either. And that's okay. That's okay. I know sometimes a lot of you can't make it to the actual live stream recording, but if you have any questions, it could be even coaching questions, please feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm always in my DMs. My Instagram handle is at it's Nicole Jean. And I am more than happy to talk to you, chat with you, give you some free coaching tips about how to get more friends and improve your people skills, because I am here to serve you, because I want having a conversation the last thing you worry about, because you have so many other bigger things, bigger fish to fry in your life. All right, I'm going to end the live stream. Thanks so much for coming in. I am always here to serve you, and I am always, always rooting for you. All right, everyone, take care.